This video is part 3 of our real-world class demonstration, writing an invoice class for a hardware store application. So as previously outlined, we are coding a method in our invoice class now that the class has been set up with private variables, public properties, and a constructor. We outlined a method named getInvoiceAmount that will take in no arguments in its list, multiply quantity by price to get a total, and then return the decimal value of that total. So coming into Visual Studio to our invoice class, we can set up the method. So we know we're going to return a decimal. So this will be public decimal get invoice amount with nothing inside of the parentheses. And we're going to return the quantity multiplied by the price. So when this is called, it will come up to the quantity public property, which returns our private variable, and it will find the price the same way, coming to the price public property and returning the value of the private variable, multiply the two together, and return that as a decimal value. At this point, your class is fully coded per the specifications we outlined in the first video. If you haven't already done so, please go up and build your solution to make sure that there are no errors. If you do find that you have errors, go back through the first set of videos to see where you've maybe written the wrong syntax or gotten something out of place. We're now going to go over to our program.cs file, to our main, and write some code using this invoice class. So the first thing I'm going to do is create an instance of our invoice object. Using the object creation statement, I can then get access to the constructor and pass in some values. Since I'm not getting this information from the user or a file or anything else, I'm just going to hard code these values directly into the constructor's call. So I have to start with a part number as a string and a description as a string. This is going to be a hammer. The next value is going to be our quantity as an integer, and then the next value is our price as a decimal. So here is our first invoice object using the object creation statement. So to check that all of our properties are being set appropriately, let's go through and print each public property to make sure that it works and invoke our getInvoiceAmount method to be sure we're getting the right calculation value. So I'm going to start by writing out a statement that tells us this is the original invoice information in case we change it. And I'm going to start with the part number. Using the string replacement notation, I use invoice1 because that's the name of my object, dot my public property, which is part number. Next, I'm going to print the description using the same format. Here you can see I've done the exact same thing for quantity and for price. I do want to point out I'm using the currency notation in the string replacement here for price, so we get the price in the currency format. In the next video, we'll look at how to invoke the getInvoiceAmount method and print that information to the console, and then do some further testing with our invoice object.